Hey guys, it's Jake from State Fun. Today we're going to see if we can get this locked up Ford freed up. So what we're going to do, I'm going to pull these spark plugs out and put a little bit of oil in every single cylinder. We'll let that soak for a little while. I'm probably going to work on the tires a little bit while it's soaking, and then we'll come back and we'll see if we can get it to loosen up some with a breaker bar. And if we can, then we'll try and crank it, see what the heck happens. If we can't, then we'll tear it apart. How's that sound? Cylinder walls just look to have a little bit of surface rust. Doesn't look like there's anything that goes too deep. At least not that I can tell looking through the little hole. And most of these I can still see a little bit of silver on the cylinder wall, it looks like. But there's definitely some surface rust, and some of them are completely coated in the areas I can see. But we'll get a little oil in there and see if it'll loosen up. The engine had a good amount of time to soak, so we'll go ahead and stick a brake bar on it, see if we can turn this thing around. And it's a 15/16 nut that'll go on the crank. Well, dang if we didn't break it free. I'm gonna go ahead and get some sandpaper and just kind of sand down these spark plugs here. Wow, that is really close. Here it is. I'll sand down these spark plugs and give them a little bit better chance of working. Then we'll get some gas and a battery and see if she'll start. Brought a wire brush over here with me. So we'll take a wire brush to them and see if we can get them cleaned. So what I'm doing here is I'm basically just trying to knock off big particles and get the this ground strap cleaned up a little bit and the electrode a little bit. If it works, then I'll just go get some new spark plugs, obviously. But I don't want to spend the time to get new spark plugs right now. I want to see if I can get it to run. It's too exciting to go do something else. We're going to hit the starter a little bit, see if it spins freely. Still got the spark plugs out, so there's not going to be any compression or spark. But this will at least tell me if there's anywhere else that it's going to lock up at. Well, that seemed to go pretty okay. So now we'll probably stick one of these in, stick a plug wire on one. See if we're getting spark. That'll tell us if the distributor's working and if the ignition coil is working too. Let's see if I can hook one of these up and let it dangle. Alright, so I want to see a little spark right in there, in between the electrode and the gap. I got the outside sitting against the header, so hopefully that's enough of a ground for us to see a spark. I'm not seeing a spark. Yep, all my ignition wires are hooked up. I guess I could try it like that and see if I see a gap there. Let's try that. I'm not seeing a spark there neither. Well, I gotta figure out why I'm not getting ignition. So either this coil is bad, or it's not coming out of the coil at all, or I'm not getting power here, or that's not a good ground. Actually, that goes to the distributor, so it could be the distributor's not working either. Yellow screwdriver, so we're going to pop the cap off this distributor and see what the rotor looks like inside there. Well, that could be part of the problem. I think it's the points. distributor. Okay, so the most probable cause for not having fire right now is this old point system right here. So what I'm gonna do is, you're supposed to have a file to file down the point right there. It's called a point file, but I don't have one. So I'm gonna take one of my small flathead screwdrivers. It's got a little bit of a abrasive side on each of the portions. I'm gonna take that and just kind of try and knock off the roughness and see if I can get that to make good contact. Essentially, the way the point system works, you have power coming to your ignition coil here, and the negative side comes through and connects to the point and condenser here. And then this is where the coil would receive a ground signal and know to send the capacitive spark out, the output to the distributor. When it comes into the cap, it comes in on the center here, which sparks to this prong and travels out to this prong, directing to one of the 8 plugs in the cap over here. That's just a general description of how a distributor works with the ignition coil. Now we're going to try and clean those points up a little bit and see if we can get some fire out of this thing. I'll grab a bigger screwdriver for that. I'm still not seeing any sparking over there, so we're going to shift over to checking voltage at the ignition coil. Go ahead and knock that out. $12.06. I've got a good ground. That's a good sign. I'm going to trace my wire up to my ignition block. Now the positive side of my coil. I've got voltage there. So then, this is my ground. Yep, the point has voltage, and that's a ground. Let's see what happens with that. There we go. I'm not sure if my camera caught it or not, but there was a spark in between these two now. What I did is I took that screwdriver and I just kind of tried to make sure those points were clean again. And then I got whatever that piece is, it runs up against this I guess this one's an octagonal rubber, whatever, I don't know. When that gets to a ridge, this separates, and supposedly that separation is supposed to be about the width of a business card. I think it's like 20 thousandths or something if you have a feeler gauge. I'm not worried about adjusting it. It wasn't too far out, it didn't look like. And it still sparks, so that's a good sign. We'll put this distributor back together, and then we'll hook up a spark plug and see if we can see spark on that. Hopefully the camera caught that. We've got spark to the plugs now. Let's get these plugs back in, and then we'll force feed some gas down the throat of the carburetor and see what the heck happens. Alright, let's get the plug wires back on. These have the little holders on them, and they were held in place 1, 2, 3, 4, so it made it a lot easier to remember which one goes to which. Obviously that does not relate to the cylinder number, that just relates to 1, 2, 3, 4 along this side of the bank. There we go, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go do the other side. Alright, so before y'all ask, yes, I did check. The radiator is full, so it does have coolant. Whether the water pump works or not, I don't know, but I'm not going to be running it that long, if it runs at all, especially since all I can do is dump a little bit of fuel in there and see what happens. Now what I do think is interesting is this accelerator pump still works, and it's shooting some sort of fluid. See it there on the right primary? So I don't know what that's gonna do. And all of the dirt dauber that's still there is probably just gonna, hopefully it makes its way through the engine and doesn't get stuck in there somewhere. It'll burn off, it's okay. You know, when I spilt the gasoline, I was like, that could be a problem. Luckily, I don't care if it catches on fire. Most of it's metal and wires that I'm gonna replace, so still exciting though. Let's try that again. Maybe this time without the fire. It is at least sparking, so that's a good sign. More fuel! Maybe a little bit more air. Let's see what happens. Holy crap! Woo! Woo! Oh, that's crazy. Let's do it again. Well, got it fired up one time. Let's see if we can do it again. Got my battery charged up and I am ready to hear some noises. Well guys, I think that wraps up this video. No dice on getting it started again, but one time's enough to know that I need a carburetor rebuild kit, new spark plugs, battery, starter solenoid, ignition switch, and probably a few other things before I can get it running well, before I can get chipping any wood. But it's enough to know that I don't have to replace the motor. So we'll stick with this old Ford and see how long she lasts. Thanks for watching, and go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell notification too. That way you see anytime I upload videos about this wood chipper or my house car project or any other DIY projects. Y'all have a good one.